The rabbits have had a fruitful summer, but it is time to curtail their population boom once more. My shooting had deteriorated recently, my scope I feel was off centre, I was canting my rifle. This had to be addressed. So I fitted a spirit level above my scope, and with my night sight camera and a timeless plumb line, this was about to be corrected. I loosened the bolts on my mount, corrected the alignment to ensure my scope and rifle was square. After evenly tightening my mounts, a quick check was in order just to make sure nothing had moved. I was ready to compare my FX Cyclone, which is a 2.2 at 24 foot-pounds, against Steve's, which is an FX Cyclone synthetic stock, ambidextrous, at sub 12 foot-pounds in a 177. How would these two rifles compare against each other? Which one did I prefer, and why? Well, let's find out. Well, here we have my FX Cyclone 2.2, 24 foot-pounds, my rabbit and rifle. We did the little board here. I did from 0 to 80 yards. I say 80 yards because that's the maximum on a still night with no wind from a stable resting position. I can shoot rabbits, but also that is where the pellet penetrates the ground, so there's very little danger or no danger of ricochets because all the energy's gone out the pellet. Zeroed at 40 yards, and we can see now when I draw the comparison on my board the curvature of the 2.2 pellet, and in a little while I'll get Steve's 177 and we'll just compare it, not just for the curvature but also for the penetration through this wood. So this is my 2.2 FX Cyclone, spitting out 24 foot-pounds, shooting a 15 grain pellet from a stable position on the back of my truck, which is roughly 6.5 feet in the air, so there's a slight angle down, but I like to practice at the position we're going to shoot the rabbits at, so I'm not going to sit down on a table and shoot targets if we're going to be shooting from above down, just so I'm clear in my brain. So we'll draw the curvature on here now and show you the curvature of the different ranges. Here we have here 0, that's the end of my rifle, spot on at 10 yards. Then the curvature's going up, slightly high there at 20. 30 is about the same height as it was at 20. 40, smack on, that's me zero range. At 50, it's slightly down. My initial shot was lower, but my experience tells me that wasn't right, so I had another shot. I did cheat, but there you go, nobody's perfect. And the second shot was the proper placement, what I thought it would be. 60 yards, a little bit lower down, and then it's really rapidly losing energy. 70 yards, it is low, but 80 yards, my limit. Look, we just about got it on the board. But here's the thing, the energy enforced by these pellets did this on the back. Even at 80 yards, it went through this plywood like it was soft butter. Now just remember these when we come to look at the 177. So I'll just draw it on here. So we've got the rifle there. So we've gone from 0, 20, 30, 0, and then we've got a downward curve. Then we've got 70, and then we go right down there to 80. So as you can see, we're shooting flat at 10, it's above then at 20 and 30, and roughly about the same, so I've got to compensate for that. 40 is me 0, so it's bang on target there, and then after 0 we start to lose the energy, so we're lower, lower still, and then it drops off rapidly. So even on a still night, you know, 80 yards is the maximum, but on average what we're shooting rabbits at with this rifle is probably between 40 and 60. They're probably the average shots I'm taking at the minute with this air rifle, but we are shooting anything from 5 up to 40, but those are the ones I tend to miss. This is why we're doing a lot of practicing. So yeah, we'll look at the 177 now and do the comparison. So here we have the synthetic stock 177 FX Cyclone. Mechanically superb. It's shot a lot of rabbits, this has. Synthetic stock here, unlike the wooden battered stock on my FX. But this is the one we did the comparison on, and Steve was shooting because it's his rifle. He prefers the 177 due to its flat trajectory. Myself personally, I prefer the 2.2 because it's got the raw stopping power. But as we're now about to see with the board, it's a completely different ball game with the 177. As we can see here, comes out the rifle again, same position. We're on the max block rifle rest, so the rifle is held really, really tight and still. He's on the back of the pickup, out the cutout, so stable shooting platform. The wind tonight was varying, anything between 0 to 3, and then when we were shooting it's probably between 3 and 5 miles an hour. So it comes out of 0. 10, you can see, probably about 1/4 inch low. 20 is a 0, and there's a reason for this. 20s is bang on. 30, again, it's the same distance down as it is at 10. 40, it's starting to drop rapidly, but what surprised me was at 50, where the pellet had a steep incline, so even at 60, if even he wanted to, which he isn't and he's not, it would have been into the ground before it hit the target. So we look at the penetration. Steve's shooting a 10.34 grain pellet, 177, and you can see it's got the energy to go straight through the plywood, but surprisingly when it comes to 50, no penetration. That's because the pellet is housed in the plywood. So his range for this rifle is between 0, 35 and 40, but above 40 it doesn't really lack the power that we're looking for to do what we're doing. So again, sub 12 foot-pound 177, and you can see the range is 0 to 40. So I'll just draw the curve on that to show you the how flat it is. We go 0 to 20 to 30 to 40. So for rabbit shooting, brilliant. Very flat trajectory, and when you think about the rabbit's head, you know, you're still going to get it in that inch square that we're looking for, which is a kill zone, which is the brain. From 0 to 10 to 20 to 30, X marks the spot, and then you get to 40 and you've got a good 2.5 inches there. You've got to overcompensate, and then you can forget it behind that. And to me that's a telling sign, because when you compare both of them, you can see that one is very flat, yet it does lose its energy very rapidly. The other one, you've got to really know your distances to compensate, to make sure you can get it on that inch square